Hi, this is Destiny from the Book Clinic. So like most of America, I was super hyped for Christopher Nolan's newest film, Tenet. A mind-bending, time-traveling action film with a black male protagonist to boot? Unfortunately, it wasn't exactly everything I was hoping it would be. It had all the trappings of a great blockbuster action film, but inside, the movie lacked a soul. So let's take a look at Tenet and see where it went wrong and what we can learn from Christopher Nolan's mistakes.
Last time it was no tennis.
First off, I'd like to clarify that I'm not hating on Nolan. I'm actually a Nolan fan. The Prestige is tied for my favorite film of all time, and I love many of his other movies like The Dark Knight, Memento, and Inception. I also give him mad respect as one of the few filmmakers in Hollywood consistently making original experimental movies. I'm only critical of his work because he set such a high standard for himself. Tenet is a movie with an amazing concept, but it suffers from thinking that concept equals story. Nolan fails to deliver the number one thing an audience needs to find a story compelling: investment. Investment in the characters, the concept, and the conflict. Let's start with the first one. I found that the hardest reason to feel invested in the film is because the characters aren't sympathetic, and they're not sympathetic because we know nothing about them, particularly the main character played by John David Washington. He's such a blank slate we don't even know his name. He's referred to only as the protagonist. While he's competent and cool, he has absolutely no personality, which makes him the opposite of relatable. I'll be talking about the movie from a writing standpoint, so I won't be focusing on acting or directing, but I have to say, I'm usually a fan of John David Washington, but his performance here is incredibly muted. He's the same blank stare throughout no matter what's happening. But the bigger problem is that the script gives him very little to go off of. We learn nothing about the protagonist's life, his past, or why he takes it upon himself to save the world. And, the worst offense, they do not give the protagonist, and therefore the audience, any connection to the plot. The protagonist doesn't save the world to avenge a loved one's death at the hands of inverted technology, or because he blames himself for its creation, or because he's trying to redeem himself. Now, it's true that 30 or 45 minutes into the movie, Nolan tries to give his main character some personal skin in the game by forging this instant connection with the main villain's abused wife. But unfortunately, this connection makes no sense in the context of the story. In the beginning, we're shown that the protagonist isn't afraid to kill or sacrifice people in the name of his mission. Yet, he's instantly dedicated to this woman and repeatedly bends over backwards, risks his life, the mission, and the fate of the world for the sake of keeping her and her son out of harm's way. But why? It goes completely against what little sense of personality his character has. Did he lose his own wife and child and sees this as a second chance? Do these two have a romantic past? I don't know, and neither does Nolan. It just becomes a convenient excuse for the supposedly pragmatic protagonist to make stupid decisions. Second, investment in the concept. Now, Thomas Flight, whose channel I definitely recommend you guys check out, talked about this in his video about Tenet, and I just wanted to expand on some of the points he made. Inverted time is very difficult to understand logically, as it goes completely against the way our world works, which means it's more of a hurdle for the audience to wrap our heads around it, which means Nolan needed to do more work for the audience to understand it. Nolan apparently thought the way to do this was to use every line of dialogue to convey exposition, but this only serves to confuse the audience by trying to explain an intuitive concept. Nolan should have stuck to a brief explanation of how it works, and then spent the rest of the movie letting us pick it up ourselves by watching the characters handle the inverted technology. A good concept also falls apart without a theme. I'll be talking about theme a lot on this channel because it is essential for creating a poignant and cohesive story. So what is Tenet's theme? I've been thinking about this a lot, but I've yet to come up with an answer. Theme is essentially the exploration of an abstract idea, question, or value. There's no question this movie is built around, no message or value is conveyed. Without a theme, the film has no emotional core, which makes it difficult for audiences to maintain an interest. I know I certainly did. Third, investment in the conflict. When you boil it down, Tenet has a very simple, extremely cliche plot. A secret agent has to save the world from destruction. Let's break down what's wrong with this picture. While this movie has huge stakes, and yet I found myself not caring if the protagonist succeeded or not. And this is because the audience will care more about a story with lower, more personal stakes than impersonal, mind-boggling stakes. Logically, we know the movie is unlikely to end with the destruction of the entire world, and the movie never gives us reason to believe it will break convention. Therefore, there's no tension. We know how the conflict is going to end as soon as the protagonist starts his mission. He's going to succeed and the world will be saved. What's worse, the who and why of the matter is never explained. For those of you who don't know or don't remember, in the movie, a shadowy organization from the future where time travel has been invented are sending back inverted weapons to one of their contacts in the past, the main villain. The villain, under orders from the future, is trying to assemble some kind of super powerful device that will be used to destroy the past. But who are these people? And why on earth do they want to destroy the past? If the world is destroyed in the past, how will that not destroy the future? This is literally the reasoning behind the entire plot, but Nolan hand-waves it away and never gives us a good answer. Tenet does this a lot, where there are gaps in continuity and plot that are never properly explained, and this prevents the audience from being invested in the story. When you have a blank protagonist fighting some random Russian guy who's employed by a faceless organization, the plot becomes two-dimensional. Compare all of this with Inception, another high-concept Nolan film, where the main character, Cobb, finds himself trying to pull a literal dream heist. We're given a compelling reason why he decides to go into this mission in the first place. He wants to be pardoned so he can go back home to his kids, and the person who's employing him has the power to do that. He's also given a great backstory, in which, spoilers, he accidentally did Inception on his own wife and was basically responsible for her death. This ties into the conflict, the stakes, and his character arc throughout the movie. His flaw throughout the film is that he refuses to let go of his wife. He keeps going down into dreams to see her, and puts the entire crew at risk because he has no control over her within his own subconscious, and she keeps sabotaging his missions. This ups the stakes. The climax of the story is him finally letting go of his wife and releasing his guilt over her death. If he fails, the fate of the world isn't at stake, but his world and his family is, and that is infinitely more compelling. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't see Tenet. It has some of the coolest visuals and action sequences I've ever seen. If that's all you're looking for, then you'll be satisfied. Just don't expect anything else. Did you think your novel was ready for publication, only to receive a mountain of rejection letters or bad reviews? Have you poured your heart and soul into your story, but something isn't quite working and you don't know how to fix it? The best thing you can do is have a professional take a critical look at your manuscript. And that's where the Book Clinic comes in. I offer developmental editing, copy editing, and proofreading services, as well as an agent prep package to give you everything you need to start querying. I will not only help you write a compelling and engaging story, but I use my experience as a publishing industry insider to give you the advice you need to make an agent fall in love with your manuscript. If you're interested, check us out at bookclinicnyc.com. Let me bring the best out of your book.